So good afternoon to all of you. I'm Triveni here, and on behalf of GDC, I welcome you all to the information session of the NCUBATE online program today. The purpose of this session is to outline our flagship NCUBATE program, how it can benefit participants, and also clarify your queries. For the next hour or so, we have speakers who will present what we do here at GDC and the details of the NCUBATE program. After the presentations, we will open the floor for questions. Our first speaker is Raghu, who will talk about all that we do here at GDC as well as the lean startup method. Over to you, Raghu.
Thank you. Thank you, Triveni. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So good afternoon and welcome to all of you. My name is Raghutam Rao. Call me Raghu. I'm delighted to open the session today evening and have an interaction along with our team. We'll briefly introduce all of us. What we will do over the next hour is really talk about what GDC is, what this program called NCUBATE is, how we think it is helping the startup ecosystem, the university research system in India to kind of meet each other and help in commercialization of research. So without much ado, let me get into sharing the program, sharing the presentation.
You can see your desktop, Raghu.
You can see my desktop?
You're seeing your email screen, Raghu.
I know something wrong is got shared. Okay, so just bear with me. Okay, there you are. So today, this program is called NCUBATE Online. It's called NCUBATE Online because it is run fully online, and it does what it says it does. It enables a lab to market transformation. So all of us here on this call are working in academic universities or studying or teaching, definitely researching, and therefore, how do we move our ideas, our innovations, all the way from the lab to the market, and how does NCUBATE help in that process is what we're going to cover. So what we'll talk a little bit about GDC, what we have done, how we actually have conceived NCUBATE, what its aims are, and how we interact with all the stakeholders that we have in this ecosystem. We are based on something called the lean startup. So what exactly is the lean startup and how do we apply that to a practical world is what we will look at very briefly. And we'll also talk about the logic of why we have adopted lean startup, and thereby we will segue into the NCUBATE program, the nuts and bolts of it, how it is structured, how it's designed, and if you were to participate, what you will go through, and what your experience will be. We also have a surprise package. We have some people who have gone through this program, some entrepreneurs who were students, or probably still are students, and what has been their experience. So we will have some of our entrepreneurial leads who have gone through this program speak to us today briefly, and we'll share some views of faculty leads, who have led teams, what they think, how they've benefited from the program, and then we'll throw it up for Q&A. So GDC is the Gopalakrishnan Deshpande Center. We were founded about 4 years back in January 2017, but commenced operations about 3.5 years back in August of 2017. So it's been about 3.5 years, little over 3.5 years, right, that we've been in operations. And our aim, while we are situated at IIT Madras, right, our mandate is to work with all STEM colleges, science, technology, engineering, maths colleges across India to build capacity, right, that is capability in faculty and researchers who are aiming to commercialize their research. So an idea is easy, right? A concept is easy. Making an innovation in a lab is tough, right? Sometimes very tough, but bringing it out to the market and building a business is super tough, right? So commercializing research means you have an idea in your mind and, which is science-based. How do you make the science work in the lab? And then how do you scale it to the outside world? And how do you make money from it, right? While delivering something of value, hopefully disrupting very positively, whatever is not working right or solving a grand challenge. So that's really what Incubate program is all about. So we've been funded by alumni of IIT Madras, 3 illustrious alumni, Dr. Gururaj Deshpande, his wife Jayashree Deshpande, and Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan. They're very eminent people, and I'm sure some of you probably know them quite well. So our charter is to dramatically increase the impact of R&D spends in universities, right? And how do we do that? We do that by working with faculty and researchers who are intent on seeing their research move to society by creating impact. So that's what we do. How do you create impact in society? And how do we do that? The routes that we work through are through the route of startup, right? And these are deep science-based, deep tech startups by definition, by choice, and by implication, right? And by doing all of this and some more, we actually build entrepreneurial thinking on campus. So it's not just that we are working towards helping startups succeed, we are actually changing the way researchers research, faculty teach, students learn, and how research itself is conceived and converted to startups. That entire ecosystem needs a shakeup, needs a change for the better. We think to get more effective, and that's really what we are focused on. So this is our team. I'll let it stay a while. So we have people from academia, we have people who have come in from industry, we have people who are teaching on campus, we have people who design programs, who have interacted with industry. So it's a talented team that we have here, many of whom are instructors or program managers. Right? These are our instructors. We have 8 of them. We have actually a few more, but these are the most active ones. And we are constantly building our team of instructors. And we have another team of about 50 mentors, very qualified and experienced mentors. So again, as you can see, our mentors, our instructors, they're highly qualified. Typically, they have experience of 3 decades or more in industry as leaders or captains or as entrepreneurs, sometimes both, right? And they have come back to give or share their experience in good measure through this program. Now let's go straight into what a university does. So if you look at the university research program, so you have academic research, which are of 2 types, right? So if you look at the basic research or fundamental research, which really leads to publications, or it creates more research, which could be applied or which is basically creating more knowledge, right? Which is very good, right? But we are looking at the applied research route, which can take 1 or more routes. Either it can get published again, which is good. It can go through industry, it can reach industry or corporates through consulting engagements. There can be tech transfer through IP. So you make a IP around your work, research work, and have a technology transfer. Or you can create an open source, right, which is then used by industry. Or you create spin-outs, which is basically a startup route to create value, right? So if you look at the leading institutions in this country in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years, they've moved substantially to research. If you look at the last 10 years, they have set up research parks, they've set up incubators. There are more than 600 university-linked incubators. I'm sure many of you are familiar with one, maybe some of you are even working in those. So these incubators are really who we work with in ensuring that this research is reaching them in a robust manner, in a manner in which they could scale or go to market with these startup ideas. It's also important to understand what Gdc does not do, right? We are not an incubator. As you can see here, for example, on IIT Madras, there are 5 other incubators. We are not the 6th incubator. We do not invest or fund startups. We are not an accelerator either. So we are not an angel investing fund or a seed. So we don't do any of that, right? We don't consult or make entrepreneurs learn the ropes by telling them what to do. So we are a completely philanthropic operation, probably the only of its kind in India. And our sole purpose is to help build capacity, build capability in academic institutions, in the research component part, the research part of a university, the faculty, the researchers, the students, the entrepreneurs, and the incubators. How can you convert deep science ideas into robust startups? Which incubators and accelerators can further take to market? This is a big missing gap in our ecosystem. And we think, and I think there's a lot of validation, as we'll shortly talk about, in how we have done this over the last 15 cohorts. So what I've done in this busy looking slide is just decompress the evolution of a startup. So here you have an idea, the research lab. So you can see here at the top, I have shown a research lab. Then you have the incubator here. In between, a lot of things happen, which is actually not very well understood here. So I have decompressed this into 4 or 5 stages. Typically, an idea is built into a prototype or some proof of concept. What is not very well done today is called customer discovery. We'll talk about it in the rest of the program. Then some startups actually build an MVP, a minimum viable product. Then some of them hone a business model, which is in line with the ecosystem they work in. Then they should actually go to an incubator and then scale up. What happens for the most part is that this part is not very well addressed in startup ideas. Very quickly, firms go from here to here, with the result that they spend a lot more time in an incubator scaling up, catching up on things that they should have done much earlier, right? So what we do in this program in Incubate, which is here, is really focus on customer discovery. So this is the same map that I drawn without the clutter. So what we do in customer discovery is what we will talk about in the rest of this program. We spend 8 weeks, right, with an idea, with a proof of concept that the technology actually works, is feasible. Having established that, we admit you into the program, and we go through a boot camp, which we will shortly explain, which actually makes you much more confident as a startup team, as a set of researchers, that your research works. If it does not work, it's a no-go. You go back, and then you discover the market again. You discover who the customers are, and you discover this with evidence. And then you iterate here till you say that, okay, I'm ready to build a minimum viable product. So building this before you discover your customer is risky, almost foolhardy, and usually a waste of time. You don't want to do that. And that's really where the value add of this program comes from, right? So even as you go further, there are iterations, but we will not cover that. What we really do is at the idea stage and at the prototype stage, and to those who are familiar with technology readiness levels, this is typically TRL3, very rarely TRL4. TRL2, 1 and 2 is science in the lab, which is here. So when you reach TRL3 and 4 is when we actually work with ideas. So what have we done so far in the last 3.5 years? We've done 14 cohorts. The 14th cohort is running as we speak. We've had nearly 600 participants who have gone through our programs, of whom 128, roughly 1/4, have been faculty, right? So you can see this is a faculty-led program. And we actually want it that way. We want faculty and researchers to come together as a team, right? And we have had something like 120 startup teams, a couple of teams dropped out, right? And we have had 20 colleges with whom we have worked. So this is truly getting to be a pan-India program. It is, we hope that, we will be able to reach 100, maybe 500 STEM colleges. And we would like to reach as many researchers, as many faculty, and as many entrepreneurs as we could. So this is just a rehash of the old slide. We have 118 teams, 590 people, and 20 institutions. Interesting statistics is we have roughly 20% of our faculty participants have been women, which is slightly higher than the national average of women working or studying or researching in STEM colleges in India. So I think we are going in the right direction. If you look at the right-hand side, this is an important statistic. What happens in this program is that roughly half, actually it's a little more than half, the statistics is more like 60-40, but it's skewed right now towards 52-48. Roughly in our program of 8 weeks, about 60% of the teams actually find some traction for their research in the marketplace, which means they are reasonably confident that they can actually build further, spend more money, spend more time, make the jump towards entrepreneurship. The people who are at 40, which means a little more than 1/3 of the teams, it's not that it means that the venture is a failure. roughly half of them continue the exercise that they do with us and still find traction. The rest of them, which could be 1/5 or 1/4, really have to go back to the labs and uh, reevaluate. Is this something worthwhile building, or are we ahead of our times, or do we still want to go ahead when we don't have evidence that the market needs our product? So that's really the value add. So it's not really a failure for us. We celebrate the people for whom it is a no-go, because in the absence of this product or program, they would have gone to an incubator, or they would have built the product. They would have devoted 2 or 3 more years. They might have even raised some money, and then found out that, look, there really is no need for this product. Can you not find this out much earlier with a much more diligent exercise, and then make corrective action rather than do all that waste of time and money? And that's really where the value of this program comes from. And the teams that go ahead, as you can see here, even this figure is updated to about 350 million today. So we have startups here who have started to raise money, seed money, grant money, pre-series A, angel money. Maybe one of the teams will talk about their experience in fundraising today as we go along. So you can see here, there are about 20 colleges, clearly the who's who of India's academic STEM institutions from all parts of the country. We are very proud that we've been able to work with them. And if there are colleges here, if your college is not here, we would like very much to participate with you as one of the first from your colleges to work on this exciting program. Let me just now move from the broad 10,000 feet view I've given you of what research is and what commercializing it and what we talked of capacity building. What is this program based on? So this program is based on something called the Lean Startup. Some of you might have heard about it. So what is the Lean Startup? So the Lean Startup methodology was actually developed not too long ago. It came in the aftermath of the financial crisis in 2008, when the financial aid, when financial flows dried up to many areas, particularly the risky areas. So startups felt the brunt, like many others. The Lean Startup owes its conceptual origin to the manufacturing world. The Toyota Motor Company, Motor Corporation, actually popularized it in the automobile and manufacturing world in the 1970s. Right? So for those who've been familiar with that, will understand what is lean techniques in manufacturing. So the concept of lean really connotes that there are limited resources. We understand that. There's always shortage of time, we have shortage of resources, we have shortage of money, we have shortage of expertise. So everything is in short supply. Typically, a startup is working in a world of constraints, from every direction. So the concept of lean, therefore, is how do we ensure that what we have can be squeezed to go to the maximum distance? And that's what a startup is really trying to do. With the limited resources that it has, how can it go the farthest and maximize its chances of survival? Right? That's what is at the heart of what Lean Startup is trying to do. Maximize your chances of success, or conversely, reduce the odds of failure. Nobody can guarantee success. Typically, they're definitely not in a high risk game like startups. So what the Lean Startup does is it tries to focus on whatever you have, how best to use them in a way, in a quest to succeed or maximize your chance for success. Let me just show some data. When you look at the startup world, both internationally, as you can see here, or domestically in India, the news is not good. Roughly 90% of startups fail. That's what it is. And if you look at the reasons why startups fail internationally, you'll find a lot of these reasons have to do with the market or competition or how customers perceive you or your product. There's no market need. The biggest reason, 42% startups failed because they were making something for which there was no need in the market. Sounds absurd, but that's how it was. They got outcompeted, or they priced themselves wrong, or their cost was too high. Right? Again, it's a question of reading the market wrong. The product was poor, not poor, properly aimed. There was no business model. Marketing was not good. You ignored customers. I mean, how much more absurd can it get? Right? So basically, even internationally, this is from Silicon Valley. So it's not that we are alone here. even the best of places make these mistakes. If you look at India, well, half the startups fail in 6 months. Not good news again. Again, the biggest reason for failure, roughly 40%, 36% actually, is that you're building something that nobody wants. Why would people in the lab do research for 2 years, 3 years, come up with something? The whole idea of research, it's been funded by somebody because you're solving a meaningful problem. That's a good premise. That's a good assumption. But when it comes to the startup world, you find that that idea, that assumption has gone haywire. All the work that you have been doing, all the research that you've been doing is aimed at some problem that nobody has. Why is this dichotomy? Why is this mismatch happening? So this happens in good measure, and roughly 50% or 60% of startups are doing something that nobody wants. So what is the biggest barrier? So when empirical evidence tells us that startups are not a good place to, if you really want success or easy success, it's a hard place. You know that, right? So here is a startup on the left-hand side, and here is a large company. That's what everybody wants to become, right? From zero, from a single cell organism, a single idea entity, you want to become a unicorn, a large company, right? This route is not straight. It is jagged. It's going up and down. And usually you go down this route, right? The chances of failure are very high. Some people say 90, some people say 95, some people say 99. Whatever it is, the number is too high. You don't want to go down this route. You want to go here, even if it is tortuous. So why do startups fail? What is the biggest reason? And now I'm going to give you a cryptic answer. The cryptic answer is because startups confuse something called searching. They need to be searching for something, but instead they end up executing something. What does that mean? Most startups are in a hurry because they have limited time. So they have a plan and they start executing, which is logical, right? And so they start executing, trying to reach and become a large company. But instead, what the lean startup says is, don't execute, search. And search for what is what we're going to address in this talk today and in the rest of the program. So what startups need to do to succeed is very different from a large company. In a large company, just focus on the right-hand side of this graphic here. In a large company, which is successful, and let's say you deal with, it could be a car company, it could be a watch company, it could be a jewelry company, it could be an industrial company. The goal of these companies is to execute. Everyone in these companies, the employees, know their jobs. They have been selected with a job description. They've been selected, they're given a target to work at the beginning of every year. They have key result areas on which they will be evaluated and their bonuses will be paid. So there is a playbook. They have goals in the department. They have goals from their bosses. They're working towards something that they know. They're chasing known goalposts, right? So most of these people in these organizations are following a script. They're following a plan. And sometimes they're following orders. Nothing derogatory about it. These people are skilled at their job. They have practiced, they got trained, and they enjoy doing what they want. And their customers enjoy and want it that way. You don't want to go into a shop, let's say it's a shopping mall, and nobody knows where anything is kept, whether something is sold. You expect the salesperson there to be smart, answer your questions, and you want to finish your work and move on, right? So that's what happens in large companies. It's a known environment with little to predict or little to be unsure about. If it is unsure, if you are kind of working in an area where you don't know your way around, that kind of operation is not tolerated very well in those organizations. Switch to the left-hand side. In a startup, which is wanting to scale, right? You're starting from zero or very near to zero. You don't know who your customers are. Most startups will tell you, I'm doing this, I'm solving that problem. That's bluster, right? Being rude here, but largely startups don't know who their customers are. They're searching for customers. In fact, they're searching for unknown customers. They don't know the needs. You don't know your customers very well. You don't know their needs. You don't know what problems you're solving. So you're working with guesses. You better be working with guesses. If you think you're working with a sure plan, that's a bridge to nowhere, right? So startups have to admit, and it's better that they admit that they don't know their way very well around. They don't know it's like being in a new town without a map. You're trying to grope your way around. And that's why we are saying that you should search for what is your goal. You may know your goal, but you must find out who are the people with those needs, where do you find them, how do you reach them, how will you satisfy them, and so on. So it's a temporary organization, as we will talk, which is looking for a business model, right? Which is looking for certainty. And once you find the certainty, then you start scaling. Before that, if you start scaling, you're building without a plan, or you're building with a faulty plan. And that's the reason why startups fail. So I have kind of explained to you in a very loose manner, right, why startups fail. So the essence of lean startup methodology, right, having seen why startups fail, having seen that the data that startups fail is very compelling, it's something that you can't ignore, there are really 6 things that the startup methodology addresses. It works with the fact that in deep science or deep tech startups, it's not technology which is usually the cause for failure. Most people working in labs or scientists or researchers think technology is most important. Of course, it's important, but that's not the reason why they fail. They fail because there are no customers. That's the biggest reason. So it's more important to understand who your customers are and then tailor your technology. The second thing we just covered, you're not a large company. So don't think like a large company. Don't work like a large company. Don't fake your way around like a large company. Don't mimic a large company. Work like a startup. Search for what you have to do. And that's really what you do for some time till you become good at it, right? The third point, researchers are passionate, engineers are passionate about their technologies, and they should be, right? What's the use of working on an area if you're not passionate about it? However, customers don't buy technology. This looks very simple English, but it's very hard to understand and very hard, even harder to practice. So you think you've got a good technology, customers should buy it. In fact, they're not looking for it at all, right? So how do you reconcile this? And that's what the lean startup looks at. We talked about this, a temporary organization. You need to look at what is scale, what is a business model, what is a suitable business model for your technology, for your context, and then scale. That's what the lean startup does. It trains you to start thinking on those lines. And how does it do that? It says, don't work in your campus, don't work in your office, don't work in your lab. Get out of your building, step out of your office. If it is pandemic times today, do that digitally. Figure out how you want to step out and get evidence and facts that help you build your business model, right? A lean startup, after all this, does not guarantee success, but it definitely reduces the odds of failure. In our view, it reduces the chances of failure by 50%. As much as 50%. You can avoid the easy traps. So still risk is left. It's still a high risk game. But clearly, you now have a map, you now have a sense of direction, and better still, you have a game plan. And that's really what the lean startup is. So I'm going to invite my colleague, KV Anand, who's our Chief Learning Officer, to explain to you, given that you know about what GDC is, what we are trying to do in campuses around India, what lean startup is, and how the Incubate program is tailored to all of this. So over to you, Anand.
Yep. Thank you, Raghu. So Raghu has already touched upon what GDC does, and also he has spoken about the Incubate program, how many startups have gone through the program, what are the outcomes of the startups that went through the program, and so on. Now we look at the details of the Incubate program, because people who are in this webinar are likely to be registering to attend the Incubate program. So we will be giving you the most important information about the program, nothing like experiencing it. So let's quickly look at what this Incubate program does and what you need to do in the Incubate program. Some of this, I think Raghu has explained. Specifically, if we talk about the objectives and outcomes of the Incubate program, what are we really attempting to do using the Lean Startup methodology with this program called Incubate, which runs for 8 weeks? It helps all the people who are involved in the program. So there is a faculty or there is a community of researchers and there are students. They all participate in the Incubate program. What's in it for each of them? For the faculty, the idea that is currently in the lab, and there are plenty of ideas which are in the lab. We looked at what are the possible outcomes for an academic research, especially translation research, where a lot of money is being spent. So one, it helps the faculty or the principal investigator commercialize their research ideas and become entrepreneurial in their thinking. We are not saying that they will become entrepreneurs. Our attempt is not to make every academician an entrepreneur. They have a very important role to play in the academic world and in the research world. We would like them to continue to play that role. Some of them may choose to start their own ventures, but we are not through this program suggesting that every faculty or every academician should become an entrepreneur, but they become entrepreneurial in their thinking. What is entrepreneurial thinking? I think that's what this program is going to be exposing the faculty and the participants to. And it's a journey, and it's not a classroom where entrepreneurial thinking is taught. It's experiential. So this program is not a classroom learning program. All the learning happens outside the classroom. And in the classrooms, we are exposing the participants to some concepts. And we are sharing experiences. You have seen the instructors who come from various backgrounds, who have accomplished a lot in their own lives. And the value of this program in the classroom is they come and share with you based on their experiences. They share with you and they also show you how you can apply the concepts, and just do not learn the concepts because you're not really writing an exam at the end of this program. So number one, the faculty, they find ways to commercialize their research ideas, because a lot of the faculty are doing some excellent research work and they want to create impact in the market or in the society. And how do you create impact if it is not reaching the people it should reach? And how do you do it at scale if there is not an enterprise behind it? That's why this first point is very important. And like I said, it builds capabilities, the entrepreneurial capabilities, not just thinking. Thinking is one. Second is building capabilities and research and researchers and STEM students who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. So they work as a group in the program. And finally, the lean startup process, or the framework that we spoke about. In lean startup, we have a customer discovery process. That is really the essence of this program, where the teams, the startup teams that come to the program, they actually discover the customer need. Invariably, when the teams come to the program, they believe that they have been doing something that customers need, or they have been building a solution or a product that people need. But people need does not really help a business. You need to know who these people are. You need to know why they need the solution. You need to know what will happen if the solution is not delivered to them. So there is a lot more than simply saying, I think my solution will help a lot of people. So this program actually, through this customer discovery process, which is again not taught just in the classroom, but something that you will experience when you go and talk to people that you imagine could be your potential customers. You have never spoken to them before. You're not speaking to friends and family. This is a great experience by itself. So you discover the customer's needs, and you have an innovation that can potentially meet or solve the needs or the problems of them. The key word here that I have put in caps is before building the solution. That's really the key. Lean startup came from that premise. You don't want to burn your money and resources and time in building something that nobody wants. When Raghu spoke, he spoke about the percentage of startups that fail and the number one reason for failure of startups. This is exactly the solution, or this program is trying to solve that problem of going to market with something that nobody needs. It avoids going to market with something that nobody needs. So you get to understand the customer's needs and build solutions that meets those needs or solves exactly those problems before building the solution or before building the end product. So the chances of success, we said that it does not guarantee success, but it improves the odds of success. So it improves the odds of success by 50% or even more. And that happens because you build something that people need and you're not building something that nobody needs. That is really the biggest value of this program for everyone who is part of this program, for the faculty, for the researcher, and for the students who are part of this program. So that is what you can expect when you come into the Incubate program. This is how the teams are structured. Raghu, you want to say something? This is how the teams are structured. You have the faculty leads, who's also referred to sometimes as the principal investigator. So this is, this person is part of the team, and there could be one, there could be more. That's why you saw in 118 teams, we had 128 faculty. So we've had teams where there is more than one faculty lead participating in the program and guiding the teams. And we have a lot of evidence that where the faculty is involved in the program with the teams, going through the customer discovery, the chances of the team learning is exponentially higher than the other teams. So the faculty lead plays a very, very, very critical role here. In most cases, the research or the idea belongs to the faculty lead, which then gets translated into product development and finally go to market that people are looking forward to. And we have a business mentor. This is a mentor that we will be assigning to the teams. Raghu mentioned that we have a strong network of over 50 mentors. And these are all people, again, well accomplished in their careers. And many of them are entrepreneurs. They have been through the journey several times. We have mentors who have started startups and failed and then started up again. So rich experience that comes from the mentors, and we assign a mentor to each team. So the team need not worry that they know everything about the product, they know everything about the technology, but we really don't know the other side of this, which is the business side of my idea. So this person actually fills that gap very nicely, guides the team, and leads the team into discovering the most important thing that you want to discover before you go to the market. And that's what the business mentor will do. We have 3 to 5 entrepreneurial leads, which are the people who are going to be taking the venture forward. These could be the research scholars, or these could be the students. These could be people who are working with the faculty. We need at least 3 of them in the program. We'll see why you need at least 3 of them. So all these 3 entities come together and make a team. So we do not have any individual attending the program. So we have teams. So we refer to them as a team, and all the 3 entities will be present in the team. And in each cohort, we have, on an average, we have 10 teams per cohort. We've done some cohorts where we've had even 13, 14 teams, but usually we work with a cohort of around 10 teams. The roles, we saw the 3 entities, and we will see what are the different roles of the entities. One entity that you did not see in the earlier slide is us, the instructors. So let's look at the role of the instructors. The word instructor can be, slightly misleading, but what we really do is we do not teach like what teachers do in their classrooms in schools and colleges. We are more like coaches who are getting you to find the answers than giving you the answers. So the instructors are not part of any team, and they do not directly support any one team. They support the process. What we really mean is the lean startup framework and the customer discovery process is something that people are experiencing for the first time when they are attending this program. And the instructors are the custodians of the process. So they stay true to the process. They stay, they support the process, and they make sure that the teams are not just understanding the process, but they're able to apply what they are learning so that they can make progress with their customer discovery. Therefore, they do not become part of any team. They remain outside the team, but they are the custodians of the process. They support the process. And I think Raghu mentioned in the beginning we are not here to make a startup successful. So that's not GDC's mandate. So we are not interested or invested in making any team's startup successful or venture successful. We are, the instructors are coaches, like I said, and they are challenging the teams. These challenges are not necessarily just about answering a question, which is a difficult question. These challenges are more about getting people to think about things which they have not thought before. So that is how the instructor plays the role. And last but not the least, we do not fish for the teams. We teach teams how to fish. So again, only so much can be said about the role of instructors, but this needs to be experienced. That is the first entity. Second entity is the business mentors, which we briefly spoke about. They are part of the team. So in the last slide that you saw that they were part of the team, and they are an extension of the instructor, but still they are part of the team. They are, fully supporting the process, but they are also supporting the team that they are working with. So in the process, they will be guiding, they will be sharing from their experiences. And these are not just domain specific mentors. Usually, when we talk about mentors, the expectation is that they are experts in a certain industry and I need to work with them. From the technology point of view, your faculty lead or the professor or the faculty lead is the authority. So the mentor is not going to advise the team on technology. The mentor is going to advise the team only on the business aspects of your venture. So we're not expecting the mentor to be a domain expert in the area that you are working on or in the industry that you are going to be entering. This person could be a well, experienced, accomplished person who knows how to start a business, who knows what are the pitfalls when you are starting up a business and so on. Again, they teach how to fish, but sometimes they also help you in catching the fish. So the mentor plays a role, like a bridge between the instructors and the team. The third role is the faculty leads. So this is the person who's the authority in the technology. So therefore this person is also called the principal investigator. And this person, has already been working with the team. Teams are already familiar with this person. So therefore they have an existing relationship. They have comfort level. They are already motivated by the faculty lead. So the faculty lead, make sure that the teams do not lose momentum or lose motivation. They stay the course. And along with the team, the faculty is also becoming, entrepreneurial in his or her thinking. And that's how the team learns. And finally, the person, the entrepreneurial lead, who are the research scholars and students and people who are going to take the venture forward. They are the engine of the team, and they are the ones who will be taking the startup into the market. And there's a lot of work that the team needs to do. So we think, or we at least advise the teams that they should be prepared to spend at least 8 hours to 10 hours a day while they are going through this 8 weeks program. At least, could be more. And they are expected to meet 100 people who they have not met, and these are their potential customers. And they, at least you imagine that they are, their potential customers. So a lot of energy is required, enthusiasm is required. Everybody will motivate. The faculty lead and the mentor will ensure that this team remains motivated, but this team has to put in all the efforts. What do we expect? So since we spoke so much about the entrepreneurial leads, the last entity that we spoke about, what do we expect them to do during this program? The number one, expectation is that they come as a team with at least 3 of them. It's not possible to go through this program, learn, apply, and make progress, do customer discovery interviews, do all of that with just one person here. So we expect you to come with at least 3 of you, and all 3 are equally committed to building a startup. That is the first expectation. The next expectation is we spoke about the instructors. We said that they will not be teaching like a teacher teaches in a classroom in a college or school. We follow the flipped classroom methodology, which means anything that you need to read and learn by yourself will be given to you in advance. You will have read and you will have learned as much as you could with the material that is provided to you. Lots of videos to watch and lots of reading material will be, reference material will be given to you. So when we spend time in the classroom, in the next slide, we will see how much time we will spend with you in classrooms or sessions like this, online sessions like this. But those sessions are used for you to ask questions and present your learning, learn from the discussions that happen in those classroom sessions or online sessions, and not necessarily being taught, everything from scratch in the classroom. So you are expected to invest time in learning and following the flipped classroom approach to learning. Meet at least 100 customers, people whom you have not met. So it's not like you can quickly look at your friends list, your contacts list, and go and meet them. You're going to meet people who you believe could be your potential customers because they have a need, and then go and talk to them and validate your assumptions about them and their needs. This is the core of the program. Customer development and customer discovery is a lesson for life. So if you have done this once in this 8 weeks, you can do it omniable number of times you want for whatever idea that you want to build a solution on, or a startup that you are likely to build in the future. I think, somebody said, the first startup is never the last startup for an entrepreneur. It's only the first startup. Leverage the experience of the mentors and instructors that you get. You've seen the profile of the mentors and instructors. So leverage the experience and give your 100% for the program. Finally, stay the course. It is difficult. It's not just time consuming, but it is also quite intensive. The whole program is run like a boot camp. A boot camp is never light. A boot camp is not about discussing variety of topics. The boot camp goes to the depth of what you're learning because you are expected to apply what you're learning. So it is quite intensive, and there will be assignments, there will be timelines, and they will be quite, wanting and quite tight a lot of times. So be prepared and stay the course. This is what we expect out of the entrepreneurs. And this is how the program is structured. So we get opportunities to interact in sessions like this. First, we have 3 workshops. This is when we start actually getting you to think about business. So far, you've been thinking about technology, and you may have thought some things about the business, but have you thought about everything that it takes to build a business? So a lot of time spent on discussing and maybe even introducing some concepts. So this is when you actually get started. And then we have the second week, we have another 3 sessions, 3 workshops. Typically, these workshops are about 4 to 4.5 hours in a day. So you spend time during the week, second week, between the first week and the second week, because you have already started thinking about business. Your own views about the customers or your views about the problem that you are trying to solve may slowly change, or you may be thinking differently, beginning to think differently. And we discuss them when you come for the second set of workshops, that is in the second week. And we introduce some key concepts here. And generally, as a rule, the instructors speak less than 50% of the time. They are in front of the classroom. So imagine a virtual classroom or an online classroom. The instructors will be talking in front of the class only for less than 50% of the time. The remaining time, the entrepreneurial leads will be speaking. And the instructors will be asking questions that gets them thinking, or they will be discussing. So a lot of facilitated discussions, presentations made by the entrepreneurial leads and the teams, very little lectures by the instructors. So that's how the second week goes. And then every week there is a webinar. And this webinar is an opportunity for the teams to come and share what they have learned during the week by meeting people. The 100 interviews that we speak about, they'll be doing 100 interviews in these 6 weeks. Roughly, you will be meeting 15 to 18 people a week at least, and you will come and share the learnings with everyone. And this is very valuable because what you are learning, needs to be validated. So the instructors will listen to your sharing of the learning and will probably ask you some questions which can help you move forward. Also validate that yes, you are learning and that learning is in the right direction. So these 6 webinars are very important. And so that goes from week 2 to week 8. And in the week 8, we have a closing workshop where the teams make the final presentation. You will hear from some alumni that are in this session today. They will share their experiences about these 8 weeks program. And throughout, we will have office hours with instructors, and the mentors will join you during the office hours. And these are one-on-one opportunities to speak to the instructor along with the mentor and discuss, what you are learning and how you are learning, and also get directions by way of these interactions with the instructors and mentors. These office hours are very valuable. Again, you will hear about this when the alumni speak. Office hours are, fantastic opportunities to make progress. Actually, what we have learned in the online sessions, how do we apply them is what gets discussed mostly in the office hours. So application is what the office hours is focused on. So these are the opportunities that you get to interact, and this is the duration of the program. This is how it is structured. These are some of the alumni. We have worked with 118 teams, almost 120 teams actually, but we've not put all the 120 teams here, but we have put some of these here, and they come from various institutions. You see some from IIT Madras, some from IISc, you see some from IIT Bombay, some from ICT, and most of them are currently incubated with one of the incubators. They are going ahead in their journey, and some of them are getting ready to be incubated. Some of them have already got grants. Some of them have raised seed funding or even more than that. One startup is getting ready to raise either Series A or pre-Series A round. So a lot of action happening with these teams. And I'm not going to talk about each team. Instead, we will hear from 3 startups, three entrepreneurial leads who attended our program. The first one you see on top is TAN90. All these 3 are special to us. I'll tell you how they are special to us. TAN90 is a team that attended our first cohort, very first cohort when we started this Incubate program. So they are alumni from this program, and I don't want to steal the thunder from Somalia. He will talk about what has happened to his startup and all the exciting things that have happened in their startup. Next, you see Komal, and before Komal speaks, I'll talk a little bit more about Komal and her venture. Now I will invite Somalia to speak.
Thank you, KV sir. Thank you, Raghu sir. It's again, every time I listen to your speeches, it's a new thing that it's a revision of what we learned about 2.5 years back. So good evening to all. I'm Somalia Mukherjee, and I'm one of the co-founders of TAN90 Thermal Solutions, where we work on cost-effective and energy-efficient cold chain solutions. And we are slowly and steadily going towards the 3rd largest phase change material cooling chemical manufacturer in India. So, it has been a long journey, and, the first step that we took with our startup has been with GDC Incubate program. And I know what we believe, what we have seen, and we have experienced firsthand, and what you will also experience in the next few weeks, is that for any startup in its very initial phase, there are 2 things which are very important. One is team, and another is market. And if either of these things are not in place, you will definitely fail. And even if you have, and that is why one of the major aspect of joining Incubate program is that you should have at least 3 entrepreneurial leads, because doing things with the help of a team, it makes a lot of sense, and like it makes a lot of difference actually. Secondly, is that one of the major aspects of Incubate is that as Raghu sir told before, that the value of depth. When you come up with a product, and then before you jump onto the commercialization, there's a huge value of depth, where is you have to validate things. And one of the major learning curves that you will learn from this, that we'll also learn from this program, is basically the validation or evidence-based approach. So what we did when we started off, we were working on with a cold storage problem, and if you look around, and just Google it, you will see that there's a huge shortage of cold storage, and that is how we started off. When we started off with our program, with our company or startup, and based on Google findings, we were started off with the problem statement, but we had no idea that who would the customer be, because we went with this idea that if we make a product, somebody or the other will require it. That's the worst mistake that any startup can do, and that's the worst mistake that any startup can do later on itself, because at this point you do not have much resources. So and you do this exercise at the expense of very low resources. Most of the burden is taken off by your mentors as well as by the program. If I talk about the major benefits, one thing is that what we believe is that you look the furthest when you stand or sit on the shoulder of a giant, and that is where the mentors actually come in. The mentors are giants in their own fields, and they are curated and given to the teams depending upon the expertise. And what happens due to that is you fail before you get into the market. If we had not done GDC, so GDC, what we believe is that it had instilled in us the whole curriculum of doing this customer discovery, not only when we started off, but we do this customer discovery every time, because market by itself is consists of a lot of other factors. Not only customer segment is one of those market, is one of the major segment or a major portion of market. But there are other segments of markets as well. You have channel partners, you have pricing issues, and all those things. And all these you make decisions on the basis of this, on all these major parameters on an evidence-based approach. And we exercise this approach whenever we launch a new product. Right, when we started off with GDC, and as most of you has a single product or a single product company. But as you go on, you would be becoming a multi-product company. And when you launch a new product, it is very essential to do that exercise over and over again. Because again, and if you do not do that exercise and you launch a wrong product, then whatever efforts that, or whatever rewards that you have got for your previous effort would go down the drain. So these are some of the major learnings that we had, and some of the major insights that we had. I would like to then give the platform back to Kevi, sir, to give it to some other my fellow ELs.
Thanks, Somalia. Can you talk a little bit about where you are now in your journey? Because it's almost 2 years since you graduated from the GDC program. And I know a lot of things have happened. Like you said, it's not just one product. You think that you start with one product, but I understand you have 5 lines of product now in such a short time. And I also know that you have pivoted many times. So where are you right now in your journey? And would you like to share that?
Sure. So right now we have found the product market fit, which started off with GDC. And once you find the product market fit, you aim for scaling, and that is where we are scaling for. We are right now, our solutions are right now in 12 states in the country. We are working with very prominent companies across India. And we not only in India, we are also starting to export our products to the Southeast Asian markets. This is where we are positioning ourselves. We are right now also one of the 3rd largest manufacturer of the cooling chemical, where we stand outside right now. And we are doing a good job in getting into different segments of products. So as I told you, when we started off, we were coming up with a customer segment, which is a target customer segment. And we have right now products specific to different target customers. And that is something that the client, that the participants of this program will also learn. What is target market and what is total available market, and how target market is very important for pricing. And if everything goes on well, we are on the process of raising our Series A, pre-Series A round.
Congrats. That's really very exciting. Raising Series A in such a short time is fantastic.
Thanks.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to have you here today. Thank you, Somalia, for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
I'd like to move on to Komal now. Komal is from Indian Institute of Science. And something interesting about Komal's interaction with us and the cohort that she attended. She attended the 10th cohort. Somalia attended the first cohort, and Komal attended the 10th cohort. And this is the cohort which actually transitioned into an online program. So in the middle of the program, during the second week of workshop, suddenly IISc announced that everybody has to vacate the campus. So, we have 3 days of workshop. We were doing the first day of workshop, and then we were told that we have to vacate. They let us continue for the day, but from the next day, we cannot be there. And we have instructors who have traveled from other cities into Bangalore for this program. And in fact, Raghu himself had to quickly, manage a flight to get back to Chennai. So it was a very, very exciting, adventurous cohort. And when we moved into online mode, we expect teams to do 100 interviews. We were worried, if you cannot do face-to-face interviews, and if you cannot get out because there is lockdown, how is this cohort and how are the teams going to manage? This cohort proved to us that lockdown does not really matter. Komal's team did more than 110 interviews. Amazing. And they have continued their journey. They are now in the process of applying for some grants. I'll leave it to Komal now to share her experience with us.
Yes, thank you. Hi everyone, I am Komal from Miraki. We were part of the 10th cohort of Incubate, like Sir said. That was last year. Our startup idea is around a treatment solution for women suffering from urinary incontinence. Urinary incontinence is a medical condition where the patient cannot control the flow of their urine. I remember how we started on day 1 at GDC. We actually had a full business model ready, We thought we knew who our customers were, and we were fully confident that they would want our solution. So, come on, if someone doesn't have control over when and where they urinate, and you give them a solution for that, obviously they would want it, right? Not so obvious. Once we joined the cohort and started interacting with these customers, it was a completely different story. We actually met women who did not care about curing themselves at all. Not just some women, we ended up ruling out 5 out of the 6 customer segments that we started with. But that one customer segment that we had, by the end of the cohort, we had evidence to pinpoint to exactly what their needs were, how we can address them, and what our immediate next steps should be in order to address them and build a business around that. Our entire perspective had changed. The way we were thinking had changed. The learnings that we got from the first-hand interactions, the classroom sessions, the office hours, the guidance, and the whole session with the team at GDC, I think it was absolutely invaluable for our team. I think that the best part was that it was the kind of experience where we were learning things ourselves. I remember how our interactions would be. We would speak with the customers and come back and share what we learned, talk about it with the instructors and mentors. And from the discussion, not just discussion with the instructors and mentors, also with other teams, from these discussions itself, we would realize that, this is not going to work, and that is something that we should focus on next. So I think that was really the best part. As of now, we have been able to develop a proof of concept of our device, and we recently got the ethics approval for a clinical investigation. We have also filed a patent very recently and are now applying for funds, as Sir mentioned. And of course, we have a very, very long way to go, but I think it was a very wonderful learning experience.
Thank you, Komal.
Thank you.
I'm sure, your venture will be successful. The kind of the team that we had from Meraki, we are so glad to know that you're still working with the same professor. The team is intact. You're all fully charged. Lockdown did not, upset your motivation in any way. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to Nikita. She is the third alumni who will speak. What's special about Nikita is that she is from the most recent cohort. So the youngest graduate of GDC. That's the team. And this team is from IIT Bombay. And something special about this team is the faculty of this team not only participated actively with us, but he has given us some things really, really useful for us to build into our design. And Nikita, and this was an all-woman team, except the faculty, they were all women. And there was one of the entrepreneurial leads who was sitting in the US, and she would dial in and join calls, and time zones did not matter. Lockdown did not matter. Now time zones also did not matter. She participated, and she actually did customer discovery in the US while they were doing, in Bombay and in India. She did customer discovery in the US. So Nikita, over to you.
Thank you, sir, for having me here. It's really nostalgic. Like we spent 2 months, January, February, with you all, and I'm so glad I'm back here with you for some moments. Good evening, everyone. As sir introduced, I'm from the team Untitled Analytics. I'm a fourth-year PhD student at IIT Bombay. So we joined GDC. We didn't had any. We didn't know even the E of entrepreneur. So we were the researchers who were very good in our fields. We had a brilliant idea. We were working on the prototype, and we were very sure that we are going to crack the industry, and we are super. But when we entered the GDC and went through the program, now we can realize how our brain got rewired actually. There was a paradigm shift in our thinking. So earlier we were so much focused on our product. Now our focus changed to applicability and things. The key part played was the why question. So I remember every time we had OHRs with Anand sir and other, we were talking further and stuff. The importance of why question. It seems simple. Okay, we have to just focus on why questions. But when the application comes into matter, you realize how important it is, the learnings you get from them. So that was the key thing with us. So let me tell you one personal view. We entered GDC thinking that we learned how to create a startup or venture. But apart from that, we definitely learned that. But I personally was able to gain many soft skills, also a thought process, which made me confident, not just about my startup idea or my prototype, but also other day-to-day things I do. Even my research work. So I really would recommend this program to you because of this. And for suggestions, I would suggest all of you to be keep a pace with the program, because that is how you will be able to maximally benefit from it. Because it's just a 2 months time, and you have to. It is on you who can gain the maximum from this process. The second thing is, if you trust the process, the learnings will come. So trust is a key word. You have to trust the process. So for us, it was a roller coaster ride. Earlier, we were not able to find any interviews. We were not able to contact people, and we were going low, low, low. And suddenly the learnings came up, and we were able to get some clarity. There were some pivotal things which led us to customer segment hopping. And there will be everything, but everything will be fun, and everything will bring a lot of learnings with it. So if not GDC, I don't know what we would be doing, because we didn't have any entrepreneurial knowledge. Probably we would be using internet. I don't think so we would get 2 to 5% of knowledge from internet, and within this stipulated time. And I think if we had been that crazy about our product, we would have had a great launch, only to realize it was a great fall. So we have escaped from that great fall. So we are, based on the GDC learnings, we are redesigning our prototype on how we should focus on based on the customer segments and needs which we learned through the program. So we are in that phase, and I know that I have gained a lot from the program, and in the subsequent time, I'm going to reapply it every time in my every process of the startup journey, and I'm sure I'll benefit from it. Thank you, GDC team, for giving us this opportunity of
Thanks,
learning.
Nikita. Something
Thank you.
interesting about Nikita and Anunath Analytics is that this is the team. I still remember they made this declaration, I would say, two declarations. One is they said, we came in as researchers, now we are actually purposeful researchers. And they also said, we had the activist mindset, now we know what an entrepreneurial mindset actually means. Because they came into the program thinking, saying that there are so many bad things happening in the world of health through the Ayurveda, products. And we are going to solve all these problems. People are suffering, people are trusting, and we are going to make sure that they get the right products, the right quality of products. So the activist mindset is what they came into the program with. And when they left the program, they said, now we know, that we realized that we came in with an activist mindset, and now we are going with an entrepreneur's mindset. And this was the first team in the cohort to actually put up their hand and say it's a no-go. They had the courage to say that after spending weeks of customer discovery, they were the first ones to say, look, I don't think we are going anywhere with this idea. We need to reset and reboot. That's exactly what Nikita and her team are doing. They have not fallen out of the entrepreneurial journey. They're continuing the journey, but they discovered early enough that the path that they were pursuing was a no-go clearly. Congrats, Nikita, on that. Thank you. I will share my screen again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next, we don't have them with us today, but we will hear what they have to say. These are two, these are two professors who have attended the program. Rajiv will now introduce these two professors, and we will hear what they have to say about the program. Rajiv, over to you.
Thank you so much, KV. So I'll play short video clips of the views that these faculty members had after going through the GDC Incubate program. The first one I'll play is Professor Sanjay Mahajani from IIT Bombay. In fact, he had his teams undergo two separate cohorts of Incubate. And Professor Ramkumar and his team were part of cohort number 12 just a few months back. So I'll, KV, can you, yeah, thank you so much. So
I participated in the first cohort that happened about 6 months back, and then the latest one, the one that is concluding today, I participated again. So that itself says how useful this particular program is. I had one team in the first cohort. Now in this cohort, I have two of them, and the result is really fascinating. Whether we are right for startup or not, this program has really helped us a lot. So that's why, like, two of my teams, one of them has said that fine, they're going to go for a startup because they see a clear case there. And the other team is saying that, oh, we want to wait. And in both the cases, I feel it's a success story. So, so that's what I've learned from this particular program. In terms of what it can do as a part of ecosystem, I feel that it is not an optional thing, it is mandatory. Because like when somebody comes with an idea, that need is something that is perceived, hypothesized, okay, and we need to validate it. Okay. And that validation, in fact, we have been talking about it in data center for quite some time, that a faculty group coming to us with an idea and center funding that particular project, the first thing that a group should do is to do validation of the need or assessment of the need and come back to us saying that yes, you have to go ahead. It's good to say it on paper.
I'm sorry, this. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, Raghu. Yes, yeah, Rajiv.
I'm sorry, the suddenly stopped. Just 1 minute, please. So I think there's some issue with that particular clip. I'll play Professor Ramkumar's views now.
The 8 weeks is too short a time, but the amount of learning, Siddharth, Pia, myself, Avanti Pat, is fabulous. It's fabulous. Every time we look at it now, I think we will look at it more emotionally. So thanks to all the instructors, mentors, and we call them at any point of time, they were able to give us time. And every time when they asked a why question, that made us think what is missing. So thanks to that, the GDC of this weeks, 8 weeks is a big transformation to almost all the groups. In fact, I have started talking crisscrossing with some of the groups. They have asked me, can I help them in making prototypes and other things? So I have also started knowledge networking to GDC. I will definitely be happy to volunteer myself in the near future. You have been a great teachers for all of us. So thank you so much. And I will be missing all the entire set of people who are all bubbling with so much energy. And every time they see a difference in their PPT, a difference in their value proportion, that was all a good learn. So thank you very much. And I wanted to thank from the bottom of my heart that I have transformed myself in this 8 weeks.
So that should give you a perspective about what some of the senior faculty members who participated in the program feel about the program. So I'll hand over to Triveni now.
Yeah, thank you, Rajiv. So we are just going to take a quick look at the timelines for cohort 14. And what you see here are the dates for selection, for the selection process. And our call for applications is already open on our website, and many of you would have received emails announcing this information session that you're attending today, as well as the call for the application for cohort 14. And the last date for submission is about 10 days from today. So it's on 3rd April. So for those of you who are interested, we will be sharing the link once again at the end of the session. Please do apply within that time. And you would get informed in a couple of days after the last date about the teams that are shortlisted for the interviews, followed by a few days to collect your team together. We do ask that the entire team come together for the selection interview, which would be on 8th and 9th of April. Followed by that, within a few days, 4 or 5 days, we will decide and also let you know that if you're a selected team, and the teams would confirm participation. So what we do is we send out the welcome mail and some of the pre-class work that needs to be done about 2 weeks before the start of the cohort. This is because there is some reading material, some videos to be watched, as well as an assignment that needs to be completed when you come on the first day of the online workshop. So that would be on 23rd April. By then you would be well into the start of the beginning of the program. All right. Okay, so this is how the schedule of the program looks, the actual 8 weeks that Anand talked about. He took you through in detail. First 2 weekends of sessions, we start with a single day of onboarding sessions. So the cohort starts on 6th May and concludes on 3rd July. That is the 8 weeks. And I'm just going to touch upon it very briefly. 6th May is an onboarding, which is a very light day where you get introduced to each other as a cohort. Of course, all this is happening online. And you also get introduced to the program and the program structure. After that, you would see 2 online workshops 1, 2, 3, and then online workshops 4, 5, 6. These are 2 successive weekends where you have 4 to 5 hours of sessions where you're introduced to various topics based on the lean startup method. In between, what you see as the initial customer discussions are when you would start with the customer interviews. I'm just going to pause here to tell you about the 100 customer interviews or customer discussions, as we call them, that has to be completed at least 100 over the period of 8 weeks. That averages to about 15 customer discussions per week if you maintain that pace. All right. Okay. So after the 2 weekends of sessions, we have weekly webinars for 6 weeks. Those are 6 webinars, and the closing workshop, which is the last 2 days of the cohort, 2nd and 3rd July. All right. So to summarize, what are the requirements for the application to cohort 15? Now, most of this has been already covered at various points by Raghu and Anand, but we're just going to recap it here. So this is a lab to market program. And so we are looking for science-based ideas from the lab. The technological feasibility is proven. You have a proof of concept. And it's very important that we encourage faculty-led teams with entrepreneurs to join for the cohort. So at least 3 years, you've heard from the alumni teams. That's very essential to have as many entrepreneurial leads as possible, because you'll be pulling the weight, you'll be doing all the analysis, the customer discussions, the office hours, and you need to have this commitment among the team for this cohort, for applying for this program. All right. Okay, so that's about it as far as the application requirements are concerned. This brings us to the end of our presentations and the session today. And now we will open the floor for questions, any Q&A from any of the participants here. So you can unmute yourselves and ask your questions, or post it on the chat and we will call you out and you can ask us your question. All right, I'm going to stop the share now. Right.
I know it must have been overwhelming. But
hello.
Feel free to ask your questions.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Nishal, please go ahead.
Thanks. First of all, very insightful, very useful. Appreciate your time and the information. For all these 100 interviews, are there any special tools or something that we need to use, like a customer relationship management tool or something that we need to use or recommended for these exercises? Because I'm assuming this is something that we would probably take it into the venture and do something on it, all this data continuously, I'm assuming.
Okay, there is one tool that we use throughout the program, not only for the customer discovery conversations, even to administer the program, to make presentations during the webinars, to get feedback from instructors and mentors. So we use a tool called Launchpad. It used to be called Launchpad Central. Now it is on Glider, so we call it Launchpad on Glider. This tool is custom made or specifically made for startups who are in these early stages. While when they are making assumptions, they are going and testing their hypothesis, they are coming back and recording their learnings. So this is the tool, and this tool will be made available. It's a licensed tool, and participants will get access to this tool for 3 months. The license will be given to the participants, and that is the tool. So we don't have a tool that is outside the Launchpad on Glider.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Are you hear me? This is Nitya here.
Yeah, hi.
Can we request you all to turn on your videos? It's always so nice to speak in person.
Sure, I will.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my question is that the last slide that I saw is what actually set me thinking, because I'm basically someone who comes from the commerce and the management background and with experience in the HR and education space. So though my business idea has something to do with using technology as an enabler to deliver results, it is not essentially a technical product. It is not driven, it is not a technical or technology innovation as such. So will something like this qualify for the cohort?
Unfortunately, no. So our program is designed primarily, we are mandated to target the research and development, scientific research and development that happens in good measure in this country, which is required to make disruptive startups to solve the challenges. So while we respect all entrepreneurship, but our charter, our funding is targeted to this. So what we would recommend, if you are an entrepreneur, of course you have a venture, you have a cause, or you have something passionate about, we would recommend, because that we can't take an idea which is not coming from the lab and not based on science and all of that. That's not our charter, unfortunately. Maybe you can join a team, right? Which qualifies otherwise, and you learn the ropes with the team. And then some of these would probably work for your venture. I mean, these are after all business companies. So that's the way. In fact, you would actually be a very good complement to the team, to the bunch of scientists, and you come with a very complementary set. It will actually make a very good team.
Okay.
But it won't be your idea. At least for this program, it won't be your idea. That's all.
Thank you, sir. I understood. I'll explore that as well.
Thank you.
Could I possibly ask one more question?
Yes, please.
Okay.
100 mentioned 100 rupees for extra question.
Oh, nice. And then you can't stop me then after this. Anyway, you said 8 to 10 hours per day for this. Effort is needed if a team size of 3 is minimum needed. Is for the purpose of this exercise, is it needed that one of the team member has to be present for all the sessions, or can we actually split the load? Certain days some people can attend, and certain days some other can attend.
We would like all the team members to attend all the sessions, because it's the nature of these sessions is not where we teach something and you can go and read that in the textbook. In fact, it works the other way around. You first read enough and then you come and you have a discussion. And the discussion is so rich that the team members will miss the opportunity if they are not present. So we would like everybody to be present in all the sessions. If there are 3 entrepreneurial leads, we would like all 3 to attend. Of course, there could be some emergencies. Someone may not be able to attend, but it's not a planned absenteeism. If it is an emergency, it's a different matter.
Okay.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, basically, what I want to know from your side is that if it happens to be a case that a technology has been developed by a student and he wants to get incubated in your program, is there a room for him and without an academic faculty?
Okay, I think we will answer it in 2 parts. I'll do the first one and then hand over to Raghu. We are not incubating, right? So the person can come to the program. Any team that has an idea that is based on science can come to the program. And we are not incubating. We are only putting them through this 8 weeks of customer discovery journey and learn from that journey, find answers to the questions that they have never asked before, or validate their assumptions that they have been working on about their idea, about who needs the product and why they need the product and so on. Raghu, you can answer the rest.
Yeah, Shahrukh, see, as I said, video again, please, it helps. The whole objective of customer discovery is to help the team address the most important question before you sink in more resources. So incubation is far away. I mean, if you incubate, which is really what lots of people do, with costly repercussions. So we are not incubating at all. And you're not coming in the way of your incubation even later. But you do something important here, as KV said. And if it's worth your while, you take the call whether you should incubate further. Not us. We just help you learn what is important to do at this stage and best done at this stage.
I'm telling you, I'm repeating the second part of the question, that is the faculty essential?
Yes, it is essential.
It's
Absolutely.
essential.
Absolutely.
So entrepreneurial...
Sorry, 1 minute. Can I understand understand your status? I mean, are you a student? Are you a researcher? What is your background?
No, I work in NIT Srinagar as incubation manager. So we basically do the same business of turning ideas and take them to market.
Right. So we work with a lot of incubators. As I told you, in IIT Madras, we have 5 incubators and counting. So the whole purpose of something what we do is we work probably at much earlier stage with ventures than you do as an incubator. And the startup team, in fact, they're not even incorporated. So they actually take the decision whether to go ahead or not with working with us. So it would be important to have faculty, and it would be important to have a proof of concept and a team of 3.
Thank you very much. It was an informative session.
Can I answer one more part of the question? It also happens sometimes some of the incubator managers, such as yourself, refer some of the recent teams that have joined, let's say, less than 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, who really not started off at the incubator, but they could actually benefit from a customer discovery exercise. So we've had lots of cases that do that. So that's something that you could do. But you still need...
Yes, in terms of the customer discovery, it seems like iIncubate program is totally unique. But what I wanted to know is basically what I posed to you, the requirement of academic faculty and the entrepreneurial lead number. It can be less or not.
Okay. Have we done cases where we have waived off faculty? Answer is yes, very rarely. Very rarely. When one of the entrepreneurial leads is a postdoc as an expert, who's really standing behind the technology and gives confidence that the technology will work. And okay, the faculty lead has not been able to come, but there is a faculty lead who vouches for it. So there's enough proof of concept the technology will work. And that's really where the faculty lead comes. So it is a mature team, but we definitely need 3 people. With less than 3 people, you have no chance. You can't do the program. You can't do the program.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
Hello, good evening, sir. This is Rajita. Sir, I'm doing a PhD in BITS Pilani, Hyderabad campus. Sir, am I eligible because I'm not part of this STEM?
I'm sorry, what are you doing your PhD in?
Sir, I'm doing PhD in computer science, sir, in the BITS Pilani, Hyderabad campus. So along with my guide, I would like to apply over here. Am I eligible or not? First, I would like to know.
Of course, you're eligible.
And one more doubt, sir. I'm from computer science, but whatever previous projects I have seen, all are from chemical, mechanical, and the different departments. I'm from computer science. Can I get any customer relation?
Computer science is very much part of STEM. So
okay.
You don't have to worry about it. Please apply.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone? Vinny?
Yeah. So
there are no questions.
Give it some time. Maybe somebody is still hesitating.
Just give it another minute.
So I have one question. I just wanted to recommend this program for some CSIR labs. So they are not an institution, but can you consider them as a part of the program if I recommend it?
Sure. Sorry, may I know who's speaking? I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah. Good. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a great pleasure to be on this program. I am Counselor Science and Technology, Embassy of India, Moscow. So I attended this precursor to this program just to, as part of my job, I generally push and promote entrepreneurship, especially tech entrepreneurship. And there are multiple programs which we are encouraging between India and Russia, joint programs and many other programs. I happened to hear Dr. Deshpande during one of his talk some time back, and I got interested in this center. I just wish to know if I recommend this program to CSIR labs, because many of the CSIR labs are now interested in commercializing a lot of their research. So will they be taken favorably? That's what I wanted to ask.
Very favorably.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
that's.
they
I'll
need
promote this and copy that mail to some of your leads, and probably you could guide them to take on this. Perhaps it'll also spur innovation and commercialization of innovation, which they are already doing. But this will help them. This is a very useful program, I guess.
Thank you. We'd be happy to.
Yeah, I have one more question for Komal. Komal, what kind of value add you got from the customer feedback or this is regarding a medical product which you were trying to build, and what kind of a value add and what are the changes you brought to your product after you got this feedback and through this program cycle?
Hello.
Yeah, go.
Yes, sir. Hello. Thank you. So like I mentioned that we actually realized that a lot of women, they don't really want to cure their condition. They manage their condition in different ways.
Question is with respect to let me just clarify. Let's say a male patient and who has lost bladder control because of the age and other aspects. So does your product also, does it help those kind of patients? That's my question.
Okay, sorry. I know as of now we are focusing on incontinence for women.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shishir. Thank you. Anyone else, please feel free. We are around. I know it's over time, but we're happy to answer.
All right, then. I think thank you all for joining us today. We will be in touch and we will share the link for the Cohort 15 application, which is on our website, as well as the recording of the session in case some of your team members or partners could not join today. All right. So please let us know if you have any questions. If you think of questions later on, you can always email it to us. All right. Thank you very much and request you all to log out now. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.